Hello everyone, back tuning into our Spring 2017 sneak peek. So we've finished the winter updates now, of course, at Gazbubbies, and we released the winter forecast on Thursday evening, going for a slightly colder than average winter. That's done now, so there won't be any changes or updates to that winter forecast. The winter forecast is out there, it will stay there until the end of winter, and then we'll get to the end of the season and we'll evaluate. So now the long-range wagon sort of rolls on to spring. This is the way we work at Gazbubbies, that we are always looking a season ahead in terms of the longer range. So, for instance, when we get to March, we will start thinking about the summer. When we get to June, we will start thinking about the autumn. When we get to September, we'll start thinking about the winter. And then when we get to December, we start thinking about the spring. So this is just a little bit of a heads up really to tell you what we're going to be discussing over the next 3 months in terms of the coming season, and just to get you ready really for the spring update. So I'll get on with that in a second. Before I get on with that, just say about the ads. There's links to articles on all the pages. Have a browse through and click through the links. If there's any articles that you're interested in, you're going to be helping us to pay for our website, and thanks very much for doing that. And the Christmas shop is open, of course, so if you've got any Christmas shop to do, it's a bit bizarre talking about Christmas when I'm doing a spring update, but anyway, if you've got any Christmas shopping to do at Amazon between now and Christmas, just click the green button. That is our Christmas shop, or takes you to our Christmas shop page, and then from there, the key to it all is to go through the Amazon banners. Of course, you've gone from Gazbubbies to Amazon, we get a revenue fee on the things that you're buying, and thanks very much to everybody for doing that. During Christmas later on, there will be a Christmas update. I think we're up to the 16th one now, so that'll be with you around 7 o'clock this evening. There's also a video on the homepage that we recorded this morning, so do check that out if you would like to do that. Right, let's get on with the spring sneak peek. So really the storyline with the spring updates will pick up where we left off with the winter. So we're going to be interested, particularly in what's going on in the Equatorial Pacific. I think the Northern Pacific is less important through the spring compared to winter, and the Atlantic becomes less important at times. Well, however, if we was to get a tripole in the Atlantic at the end of the winter, that could have a bearing, certainly on the early part of the spring, in terms of cold weather. That happened in 2013. So if we was to see an emergence of 3 distinct bands, so we would have cold, warm just there, we'd have cold just there, and warm just there. If that was to happen, let's say that happened in February, then that could have an impact on March and into April, because that happened in 2013. We had a very late developing tripole, and that was one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons we found ourselves with that fantastically cold and wintry March in 2013. So we will keep an eye on the Atlantic, but less so, of course, than when we run up to the winter, we do winter updates. And we're also going to be looking at what's going on in the Equatorial Pacific. We expect to be fading from this borderline ENSO neutral to weak La Nina type situation back firmly to ENSO neutral condition. That is certainly what the CFS V2 is predicting through this winter. These are the dates, so this is January just here. Through this winter, we're expecting to go from around here, which is just on the borderline between ENSO neutral and weak La Nina, to lift up to this sort of area by the time we get through into the spring. That's April just there, and it is back to ENSO neutral. Typically, spring will be a neutral season, so if you're in a El Nino, you'll tend to fade back to ENSO neutral. In the same way that if you're in La Nina, you'll tend to go back to ENSO neutral in the spring, and then you're looking to see what happens after that as you go through into the summer and the autumn. Notice that very extreme member of the CFS ensemble, Plume, is trying to go back to strong El Nino condition. It looks like it's out on its own, but by the summer there are quite a few ensemble members here that are going back to El Nino. Anyway, I digress with that, not important for the spring. So we're going to be looking, I haven't spoken to our analog guru James Ackroyd yet, but I think we'll be looking at years that are fading from sort of a weak La Nina back to ENSO neutral to see whether there's any particular pattern emerging there. And talking about analogues, we will be looking at analogues as well. This is our winter analogue based on the winter updates, of course, where we was forecasting sort of above average heights just to the north of the UK and below average to the south. What we're going to do, we won't be able to do the analogues immediately, but by the time we get through into January, we'll have a rough idea where certainly the early part of the winter pattern has been, and then from there we will be able to start reanalyzing past winters that had a similar pattern to look ahead through to the spring to see if there's any particular patterns that are emerging there. So we will have a look at some analogues. Hopefully, if James is up to doing it for us, we'll have a look at some analogues for the spring as the winter patterns emerge, and that will become more apparent through January and February. And then obviously there's seasonal models as well. There are going to be 3 seasonal model updates. We'll do the first one in December. Now, I'm not sure when that's going to be because the dates are a bit funny this year. I normally do the long range stuff on a Sunday, and Christmas Day and New Year's Day are falling on Sundays this year, and of course the day after, the 26th, that's going to be Boxing Day, and the 27th, I may do it for the 27th, but that's going to be Bank Holiday as well. So I'm not quite sure when the first spring seasonal model update will be, but it could well be on the Bank Holiday Monday of the 27th of December. That's sort of where I've got it penciled in very sketchily at the moment, but we will wait and see on that. Anyway, this just to give you a quick sneak peek at 1 or 2 of the long range models. This is what the CFS V2 is predicting for the spring. This is 700 millibar height anomaly for March to May, and it's placing above average heights down towards the Azores and below average in the Atlantic, and a little bit of above average heights there over towards Norway. A very weak signal, and you can't really read a great deal into that, to be honest. That should become stronger, that signal, as we go through the coming months. The experimental NASA model is looking like this for the spring. This looks quite good, actually. If you want a nice dry spring, it's placing above average heights over and to the east of the country. Now, of course, early in spring, in March, that sort of scenario could be quite cold, but later on, if that was to persist into May, that could be quite a warm and a very pleasant pattern for the spring there. The Beijing Climate Center also looks pretty good. This is the 500 millibar height anomaly for the spring of 2016. Just make sure I've got the 2017, I should say, just making sure I've got the right chart up, and I have. So this is 500 millibar height anomaly for the spring of 2017, placing above average heights over and a little bit to the west of the country, actually. That looks quite good. It could be fairly cool at times, and the jet stream may be doing something a little bit like that. But overall, that looks quite a settled spring as well, so fairly consistent signals right at this very early stage for a fair amount of high pressure this spring. The UK Met Office, though, looks very different. That one is placing a trough through the country and extending it down into Central Europe as well. Have this ridge over Scandinavia, and it means that we're on the cold side of the jet. So that's colder and more unsettled, that one. For the early spring. That doesn't quite cover the spring period. That's February, March and April, means sea level pressure anomaly. But that looks colder and more unsettled for the early part of the spring. We'll have many more of those sort of charts for you over the coming 3 months as we examine what the long-range models are doing and then put them with the analogues. And at the end of February, we'll create the GazProViz.com Spring 2017 forecast. So if you enjoy the long range, I know a lot of you are more interested in winter, and we do see quite a big drop-off in both the viewer stats and the reader stats at the website in the spring, particularly the spring. But it can be a very interesting season, spring, and to be honest, you tend to get, certainly in recent years where the winters have got milder, we tend to get colder conditions in the spring, actually. So if you like cold weather and snow, for example, I spoke about March 2013, at no point through winter of 2012, 2013, was it particularly severe? There was snow through that winter, particularly in January 2013. There was a snowy spell, but it wasn't severely cold. That came in March of 2013 when it really was exceptionally cold with lots and lots of heavy snow as well. And of course, last year, we had more blocking and more snow in April of 2016 than we had at any point through the winter of 2015, 2016. And of course, you're more likely to get snow at Easter than you are at Christmas. So if you like cold weather and snow, it is worth carrying on with the longer range updates to see what the spring has in store. Because very often, especially if you have a mild winter, I'm not saying we're going to have a mild winter, but if we was to have a mild winter, very often it can be the spring that has the sting, the wintry sting in its tail. So that's what we're going to be doing for the next 3 months anyway. If you don't particularly like the spring updates, it's not well interesting, it's okay, you don't have to watch them, but that's where the long range stuff is going over the next 3 months. We'll start off at the end of this month, I'd say probably around the 27th of December, doing that first seasonal roundup for the spring, and then we'll add some analogues and different bits and bobs to everything through January and February as well, with the final spring forecast at the end of February. Right, check out the video recorded this morning that's on the homepage, and this evening at 7 o'clock we will be doing the 16th Christmas update. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.